Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A24 on the Rocks podcast. We're so glad that you joined us for this discussion of Before There Was Barbie, There Was Lady Bird. We're all here to discuss this wonderful movie from 2017, directed and written by Greta Gerwig in her solo directing debut. But before we get to that, I'll introduce you to all of us. If you haven't been here before, we alternate our host every single episode. Today it's going to be me. My name's Kelly, and the other part of the whole On the Rocks thing is that we all have a drink in hand while we do our discussion. Today, I am drinking a Finnish long drink. I don't know so much about them except that they showed up everywhere all at once, and they're really good. They're like an alternative to kind of like White Claws, but they're delicious. After me, I'm going to throw it off to my husband to introduce himself.
Hey yo, this is Eric, and I'm drinking also a Finnish long drink. And fun fact about Finnish long drinks, it's co-owned by Miles Teller, the actor, the guy that was in Whiplash. So, the company is. Fun fact. Kevin, what are you drinking?
It's fun fact.
Fun fact indeed. Good evening, world. This is Kevin K. Konchek, and tonight I am drinking whiskey. Yeah, that's right. No surprise to anybody there. But it is a different bottle tonight. I'm drinking a Canadian rye whiskey in honor of my good friend Cole over there, who is not in Canada nor Alaska, but I'll let him introduce himself in a second. But it's Pendleton Rye, aged 12 years. It is delicious. It is on the rock, meaning I have a giant ice cube, because that's pretty cool. That's how you drink it, I guess. And that's me. Cole, what are you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's Cole William Gibson. I'm currently in the worst state in the union, Florida, and to celebrate it, I'm drinking a solid malt beverage in a brown paper bag, because that seems to be what everyone does around here. So that's
I think you told me you're working on a Florida project.
Some would say it is a Florida project. I am very close to Orlando in the motels right now, so I'm really embracing the experience.
What are you drinking? Colt 45? What are you drinking?
Yeah,
Old English? What are you
we'll
drinking?
go with Colt 45. I don't know. It's probably Red Dog.
Red Dog.
See, how many podcasts are so into A24 movies that after seeing the Florida Project, Cole decided to live it?
Yeah, I had to. I really wanted to experience the full gamut of emotions.
You wanted to find the sandhill cranes and chase them.
I'm gonna go burn down a condo.
That is
this
also an
afternoon.
option. I was going with birds. You went with burning down a condo.
And after this discussion, Cole's going to move to New York City so that he can learn what his relationship with his mother was like in a new perspective and, yada, yada.
It'll be great.
On and on.
It'll be absolutely great.
Yeah. A24 on the Rocks.
So, audience, this movie, Lady Bird, turn back now if you haven't seen it before because there's nonstop spoilers ahead. And we'll be here when you're ready to hear it. This movie came out in 2017, and it's about a teenager navigating a loving but turbulent relationship with her strong-willed mother over the course of an eventful and poignant senior year of high school. So first question for everybody, just to get into the mood of this whole discussion, I want to hear about a high school movie that maybe meant a lot to you before, and subsequently, I want to hear about your hometown. And were you living in your hometown when you watched that movie? I know it's 2 in 1, but Eric, do you want to start us off?
My favorite high school movie is probably Superbad. I mean, that's like I've been saying it before, it's like the Millennial Breakfast Club. And yes, I was living in my hometown of Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan, when I saw that. And Grosse Pointe Woods is a very boring town. Everybody calls the Grosse Pointes a bubble. And it's like they have no good restaurants there, and they purposely don't put bars in the town. It's all a bunch of like banks and just shitty fucking stores. I don't know. Just, it's not a fun place to be. And so I do feel with Lady Bird here, where I hated my hometown, wanted to get out of it, and that's why I went up to the Upper Peninsula. But yeah, Superbad, wasn't as much about people just like wanting to get out and like go across the country. It's about just some dudes trying to get some booze, and I felt that to the core too when I was in high school.
Cole, tell me about your hometown as our resident nomad. It seems you wanted to get the heck out of there,
Yeah.
if I can be so bold.
Yeah, I grew up in Mason, Michigan. I guess I went to high school in Mason, Michigan, but I grew up in Rives Junction, Michigan, which is a small town nearby. Very small farm towns, not a whole lot going on. Most of my evenings with my buddies was spent driving around to various different cornfields. There was a certain road that had a really cool dip and bump on it that if you drove fast enough, you could get airborne with your car. So we did that a lot. That was pretty cool. We, just a lot of bonfires and cornfields. Pretty much if you stay in Mason, you kind of get addicted to alcohol and meth. So a lot of drunk driving and overdoses. So definitely wanted to get out of town. I wouldn't say I hated my hometown, but it definitely was a little boring. My like go-to high school movie, me and my I guess group of friends, we watched a lot of just terrible B-rated horror movies. And I would say our favorite one was one called Thanksgiving. That's about a killer turkey that is just quite absolutely terrible and has one of the funniest opening scenes I've ever seen in a horror movie. So that was kind of the one that we quoted a lot and really went to town on. So good times for sure.
Fun fact, Malcolm X went to his high school.
That's true.
Not even joking.
Malcolm X did go to my high school, and Hugh Jackman was there one time because they filmed Real Steel, the Robot Rock'em Sock'em movie. They filmed like 2 scenes at our courthouse, and it was a pretty big deal. So,
nice.
Sounds like the biggest thing happening at the time at the place.
It was pretty fucking crazy.
Kevin, will you also share with us about your hometown and maybe a high school movie that might have been a little poignant for you?
Oh, of course. So I think I could take everything that Cole said about his town and just copy and paste and put it into my hometown. I'm from Rhinelander, Wisconsin, which is a tiny town in the northern part of Wisconsin, about 45 minutes south of the UP border. There's 7,500 people who live in there. My graduating class was about 270, which is not terribly small in comparison to some, but it was pretty tiny. Small town living. I didn't do a whole lot. I played hockey and I was in the jazz band. So, doing a little bit of both academics and music. And there wasn't a whole lot else to do. So I found myself leaving Rhinelander as quickly as humanly possible. Although I only went 3 hours north to Michigan, even farther north. So it was like that moment in this movie where Lady Bird's like, half hour, that's not far enough away. Like, so I had to make sure that I was at least 3 hours away, which felt good enough for me going away for college. But for me, it was, I love Rhinelander, though. I honestly do. It's a great place. I'd go back again, and my parents still live there, so I get to go back and visit the home of the Hodag often. And it's a pride spot for me for sure. So I'm actually proud to be from Rhinelander, although I wanted to leave it and I won't live there. It certainly is something that is a lot. It means a lot to me. So I do feel very close to Lady Bird in that aspect, where her feelings towards Sacramento, I probably feel relatively similar during her, when I was 18 years old as well. Anyway, a movie, for me, I always had to watch the things that I wasn't allowed to watch, meaning that my parents were pretty damn strict about what I got my eyeballs on. So anytime that there was a film that was overly the top, or just kind of a bit more raucous than the rest, something that really was something that really made me feel like I was getting away with something, was the movie for me. And I found that film in Eurotrip. Eurotrip for me was I couldn't tell you any of the other details. I wish I had it up in front of me, what year it came out, all of the other nonsensical things about it, but it's about a trip to Europe. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and go watch it if you've never heard of it. It follows it's the successor to Road Trip, I think, with Tom Green, and it's like the successor to the National Lampoon film. Absolutely ridiculous. And then the other one that came to mind was actual films about high school, since that's also a poignant part of this. And Mean Girls comes to mind as one of the most classic films about high school, and all of the cliques and different groups and bullying that can occur. And there's probably some lines that are similar to this film, or at least some inspiration in one way or another, as far as just the way that the girls interact with each other and things along those lines. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I can't ask you guys all the question and then not share myself. I very much relate to Lady Bird in the fact that my biggest goal being a senior was to get the heck out of my hometown. I'm from Grand Blanc, Michigan. I even shudder to say I'm from Grand Blanc because I separate myself from that so much now, and I wish that I even lived further. I spent my whole time thinking I was going to go off to college in Alaska, and then when that time came close enough, it realized, I guess the UP of Michigan that's far enough away. That gave me 8 hours of distance from my hometown, and I very much relate to Lady Bird that once I was away from GB, that's Grand Blanc for those who don't know, I actually am able to kind of look at it with a different set of eyes. Not that I want to live there, not that I'm coming back, but a different set of eyes. And my high school movies, I think we might have discussed this before, but definitely Napoleon Dynamite was a really important one, and also Mean Girls. And I think Lady Bird has some flavors of both of those in there, with the awkwardness of parts and with the amount of comedy that's able to be found in this movie. So it gives me that same kind of like fuzzy feeling that I look for in a movie about being in high school and also a coming of age tale. Something that I wanted to ask you guys right here is about how the fact that Lady Bird, it kind of flips the script on the idea of a coming of age film, because it shows what it's like to be growing up as a girl, which I don't think we always get a lot in movies of coming of age, but especially like dealing with a mother-daughter relationship. I think that's becoming more and more of a common thing. I'm the only girl here, but I have my thoughts on that. I kind of wanted to hear it from you guys though. Like, is this movie still relatable to you as gentlemen to be very much so focused on a mother-daughter relationship in the way that it is? And I wanted to kind of know your general vibe of that while you were first kind of peeling into this movie. Cole, I asked Eric to start every other question so far, so I'm throwing it back to you.
Yeah, I still think this movie, from like a male perspective, is a very relatable film. I thought, especially like the relationship between the mother, or like the parents and their child. That relationship, especially at that age, is very contentious, and I think that's also kind of the age when you start to realize that your parents aren't these like perfect, idealistic human beings that you've like grown to kind of idolize, and you start realizing that they just aren't, they're normal human beings, and they make mistakes and say some stuff that is very hurtful and could kind of ruin that or sour that relationship for a while. And I think I had like a similar thing with like my father and I during certain areas where we had those like disagreements and may have said things that we both regret at certain periods. And it was kind of like the similar thing that between those two of, your parents have these like expectations of you in a sense, and they want you to do the best or be the best kind of thing. And, I don't know. I still felt a connection to it, even if it wasn't. I'm not a daughter. I'm a son to a mother, but I still felt like it resonated with me pretty strongly. So
yeah, it's still like a universal story in that regard, I would think.
Yeah,
I would hope. I have to check though with the guys. I can't just
boys.
assume, right? Eric, how do you think that, well, I want to talk about the actors who play mother and daughter in this movie, and that's Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf. How did they do at playing their characters and kind of portraying that role of mother-daughter, which in my opinion is, they're so similar in some ways that's like their biggest difference. And I think it was very authentic in that regard, but I want to hear kind of your thought both on that theme and also on the actor performances.
They were fantastic, and that was noted by the Academy. They both got a Best Actress nomination and a Best Supporting Actress nomination. And yeah, they like really, I wouldn't say carried this film because the writing was so freaking good, but like they just hit this out of the park. And that clashing between mother and daughter at that tender age of when you're a senior in high school, wanting to leave your hometown, wanting to get out, or just wanting to have new experiences, and you're still just kind of stuck there. It's so well done. Greta Gerwig said that this film is semi-autobiographical, so I could totally tell she was pulling from stuff that she experienced as a kid. And so, yeah, it felt very real. And I have two sisters, so like I'm so aware of like that kind of mother-daughter clashing. It's just two very, very headstrong people that have very, very opinionated, and the mother really wanting the best for her child, but not letting her breathe, I think, is kind of the theme of this film, or the theme of their relationship. Just being so like hands-on and to a fault, and yes, saying some pretty horrible things to her in the meanwhile, and vice versa. But in my opinion, the mother should know better, and the daughter is just acting out because she's at the age she is. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, what were kind of your thoughts on Lady Bird with her family, with her mom, and also with her dad, played by Tracy Letts, who we've seen in another A24 movie not too long ago? Are you kind of in agreement with these other fellas?
There's a lot to unpack about this whole relationship, mostly because I believe it's an intricate part of the entire theme of the film, as we probably get to here in a bit, where this relationship is the crux of what we're dealing with from a plot standpoint. From a personal standpoint, I have a great relationship with my mother, but she also is very similar to our main character, in the similar of being kind of domineering and sometimes a little opinionated, a little judgmental, definitely Roman Catholic. So there was a lot of, for me watching this personally, where I felt a lot of empathy with our character, because there was a lot of tough love when I was growing up in very similar circumstances. Just the expectations being what they were, and you need to be this and that and have your life go a certain way, and maybe when it doesn't, how the family reacts to that. And the film certainly dives into that in a very profound way. But on the surface, this film really looks at the dynamic of the mother and daughter and kind of puts it at the forefront. And Greta Gerwig is very aware of that, right? She makes the characters have similar haircuts. They're both the same height. They're both put on a platform when you're filming them from the back or from the front or whatever the view is, where they're put on a very equal scale. They're meant to be seen as kind of this warriors, I guess, if you look at the battle between themselves, but one doesn't have the upper hand versus the other. It's kind of a idea that they both have valid points and they both are equal fighters in this fight, and when they both take punches, you kind of assume that they're both going to take it, and they both are going to come back and keep swinging. And there's so many scenes throughout this film where that kind of is supported, and I really love that a lot. I could keep rambling a lot because these characters are so just titular to the entirety of this entire film. And I know the dad plays a big role in this too. But in general, I just loved their characters, and it was just put together in such a way that it made it relatable for me as a human. And then when they put it on the screen, like Erica alluded to earlier, the writing was just so well done that it made it so relatable to me. And those actors and actresses just made it a brilliant ride from start to finish. So I was just happy to be a part of it, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Eric, how do you think that kind of those topics that Kevin just brought up with the mother and daughter being like warriors, and they're doing things that from their perspective, and that's the only one that they're privy to, are justified. And cinematically, there's this use of dual perspective where we're able to see how they justify their actions. They're not privy to that. Do you think, I mean, it's a very leading question, I'll be straight up, but how did that kind of enforce that idea with the like dual perspective in that regard, where you can see the pros and cons of both of them, and you can see that they don't see the other side, although you do as the viewer?
I think kind of like what I was saying is that I think the mother should know better when those two are fighting. I feel like the mother should know better that you shouldn't say those kind of things to your kid. They're very damaging. You never have the grades to go to this place. Like, you're never going to leave, you should just stay around here. Or just freaking out at her because she didn't put away her clothes. It's just, come on, like,
you're
just
gonna
give
go
her a
to
break.
jail.
Like, yeah, you're going to go to jail.
City school and then jail.
Yeah. And I could tell, I think we were saying this during the film, that she might have had like borderline personality disorder. She's the frantic acting out at her daughter, and I would say very narcissistic, kind of controlling. Maybe not narcissistic, but she's only thinking of things from her own perspective and not giving any leeway to her daughter. And go ahead.
There is a hint in that scene with the clothes being folded, where Lady Bird says something that I think is really strong, like, didn't you ever wish that your mom gave you a little bit of leeway when you didn't fold your clothes one time?
Yeah, that's what I was
thinking. And her mom answers with, my mother was a raging alcoholic. It's like, this,
abusive.
You might think you have it bad, but it could be a lot worse. Like, I don't know if you guys heard that kind of stuff growing up, but that's a thing that parents say a lot.
But that's a horrible thing to bring down upon your daughter. You should try to do better than your own mom. But
she thinks she is.
I mean,
she thinks she is doing much better,
slightly
right?
better, but I think also there's so much wrapped up, like, Lady Bird / this film takes place in Sacramento, which I don't think is that small of a town, but it's kind of portrayed to be a small town. And I'm guessing they live there for a reason. Marion is actually scared of her daughter going away and therefore not being able to keep her safe. She probably is of the feeling like, oh, if she goes to the big city, she won't be safe. I won't be able to keep her safe. I won't be able to protect her from all these things that I've wanted to protect her from. She doesn't just think, oh, maybe my daughter needs to live and learn for herself. She never thinks that.
That's absolutely supported by them. The fact that they're in the Catholic school at all is because her brother saw someone get knifed in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so it's like she's protecting the family by putting them in a private Catholic education, which is not cheap at all. Yeah. So the entire hardship is based on her wanting to do what's right for her family or trying to protect them, as Eric said.
Yeah, and she's overprotective, overbearing, and that, you know, 1,000%. That's a common thing, especially I feel like in this generation of parents.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a thing that this movie even is able to cause us to discuss, is every single generation of parents are trying to respond to the previous generation of parenting, and it's almost like a push too far in the opposite direction. In this case, there's a huge theme of the movie between love and attention, and there's a scene where she's talking to kind of like her like student counselor in a way, but one of the sisters at her school, where she's talking about Sacramento in so much detail that the sister brings up to her, you talk about it as if you love it. And she says, well, I think I just pay a lot of attention. She says, don't you think that that's the same thing? Cole, do you think that moment in the movie is kind of like a culmination of themes? And do you think that kind of then echoes Lady Bird's mother's way of being both overbearing yet caring?
Yeah, I think so. I think I really like that scene. I mean, the writing in this film is phenomenal, and that scene is definitely one of the ones where it kind of it's telling you without making you feel like it's just kind of spoon feeding you in a way, where you know you love something by giving it the attention, and like her mother clearly loves her and cares about Lady Bird, but is you know doing it in a way that's kind of pushing her away. And you know, she's putting in all this effort and all this, I guess she's just giving her so much and putting her in the Catholic school to protect her and taking her shopping for dresses and trying to give her as much as she can. But at the same time, maybe Lady Bird isn't giving her that feeling of attention, so she doesn't feel like she's getting appreciated, the mother. So it's kind of like the reverse thing where like Lady Bird, I think, loves her mother, but she doesn't give her the attention that the mother wants, and vice versa. And I don't know, it's a unique way of looking at it, and I don't think it's a wrong way to look at love, but sometimes it can maybe lead kind of the opposite effect.
There was that scene where they're sitting outside. Lady Bird is sitting outside the back of the coffee shop she works at, right? And Danny O'Neill, played by Lucas Hedges, comes up, and they're chatting about her mom. And basically, he describes her as warm and scary. And she's like, you can't be both warm and scary. He's like, yeah, but you can because your mom is. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much right. I don't know if those are the right words, but it's pretty close to the same idea that you can be an intimidating crazy in some circumstance, but also loving and warm. And it's just that's what this movie asks the question about. And it's just laced throughout the whole thing from start to finish. And all of its 90 plus minutes, it's just asking that question. Can people be that complicated where you can have love and also have a vindictive side of you that is absolutely abusive and has some evil tendencies, like, because we'll get to that too, because she has those as well. So just really well done, and Greta just did a great job of asking that question and making a film that did opened up that discussion while making it so concise and so to the point.
Well, it's like there's also there's that scene where they're prom dress shopping. They're like Lady Bird tries on the one dress that's way too tight, like super tight and super short. It has open back, and the mom clearly doesn't like it. And she's, I think, relieved that Lady Bird also doesn't like it. She's like, yeah, it's too tight. And the mom's like, well, it's probably shouldn't have had that extra, that pasta. And it's just like,
right.
like what a terrible thing to say to a young woman. And then she comes out, Lady Bird comes out with that very floral, like, pink dress that she clearly loves, and the mom, and again, it's like the mom's weird way but terrible way of showing that she loves her is like basically tells her, is it too pink? and like everyone,
she said,
yeah, like,
you're gonna give me a eating disorder.
Yeah,
Mom, you're giving me an eating disorder. It's like, I don't think you could get an eating disorder. Like, what? What? That's so mean.
Yeah, and it's like those things are just they come across so mean, but at the same time, like, I guess the mother's saying it because she wants her daughter to, like, be the best she can be or the most beautiful, and, like, doesn't think those dresses are right for her. But there's a better way to go about it than to kind of talk down to your daughter or ask those kind of I don't know, like almost like patronizing type questions that result
right.
in the fights. But it's just a common theme, and just the writing is just so good. It felt so real, where it's just every time the mother said that, I'm like, yeah, I've definitely I've got 3 sisters, a mom, and I've heard a lot of these conversations come between the two where they say things that you're just like, you should not have said that at all. But yeah,
I think that the script writing, this movie was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and I'm going to pass the torch over to our resident screenwriter, Eric. What are your kind of thoughts on the writing of this movie? For me, I'll show my cards right now. I think that it's really brilliant. I think it's very much, it almost like scenes kind of start like a conversation's already begun. I feel like we're like already into scenes when they've started, and sometimes it's a little bit, it's very much dialogue heavy, and you guys know that I like that too, because it just moves the story forward. But Eric, I want to know kind of what are the pros, maybe any cons in the writing of this movie?
I would say there's no cons. The screenwriting was phenomenal. I think it's one of the best screenplays of the last 15 years in film. It is very fast cut, fast quips, though. Greta Gerwig is ADHD, and it definitely comes off in the screenplay. Like, you go from scene to scene really, really fast, but then it leaves, almost every scene, and it leaves you with a little joke at the end that you, laughed your ass off to. I was thinking of the scene when she was at, her boyfriend's grandma's house for, was it Thanksgiving? And she, looked at the Ronald Reagan poster, and she just goes, is this a joke? And it just, cuts right there. And it's comedic timing to a T. And this screenplay is so good. And, we'll talk about the ending later. Maybe I don't exactly agree with how they cut off the ending. We'll get there. But the way the story flows all together is so well done. And, she, I think, deserved the Oscar that year. We'll need to look into who actually won it that year. But, yeah.
Your comment on the comedic timing is absolutely brilliant, and you get that from the very first scene of the entire film, which I love, where they're driving in the car. I don't know, Kelly, if you were going to ask about the scene specifically or not, But we're going to talk about it because it's perfect, just like Eric says. Like you have this bookend to a scene where you're all of a sudden going one way, and then this comedic timing. And in this circumstance, it's our main character, Lady Bird, throwing herself from a moving vehicle, as her mom is berating her about colleges and not being smart enough to get into them. But I knew this film was going to be fantastic after that. Like, that is all it took. I was laughing for a good minute straight. I couldn't stop. Like, the comedic hit of that moment, and then the realization of how heavy of a conversation that was and the real life circumstances that was surrounding it. I'm like, oh my God, they're tackling something really huge. Because all I knew about this film going into it was that it was about a young girl and it was a coming of age story. That's all I knew. So going from that point, they just hooked me. And that's really important as a writer-director, right, is to get your audience to commit to what they're about to watch. And from that beginning, that opening, that way of getting you into the film at such a ridiculous level is just a commentary on the fantastic jobs of everybody involved. And we see that throughout this film from start to finish. And it's a Cole special. I mean, it's very quick. It's 90 minutes. It's good.
A Cole special.
It's a Cole special. It's great. It's just
Slice
really
of life,
so,
90 minutes, good feels, comedy with some solid writing. I don't know what else you could want.
I mean, right. This is truly a Cole special.
Yeah. We're talking about slice of life. We're talking about the family, but I also want to talk about some of the friends and other people that are in the high school. Cole, what were your kind of thoughts? Is Julie a good friend? What were your thoughts on Julie? Who's like, that's Lady Bird's girl, right? Right from the beginning. And she has her own little story going on. But for me, I thought that she was just a lovely character. I kind of want you to weigh in on Julie.
Yeah, Julie is the, I think, like the perfect yin to Lady Bird's yang in this film. I think she was portrayed very well and written extremely well, and I loved every scene that she was in. And just for a 90-minute film, it moves so fast, and you have so many different like unique storylines, and you kind of get it's all about Lady Bird, but then you also get like the Julie and the Kyle and the Danny, and like you get all these other things of these other people struggling with these, kind of navigating the high school life. And I don't know, I really liked it. I thought Beanie Feldstein, the actress that played Julie, did a phenomenal job. And I've seen her in some other stuff, and she always has a very
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, yes. She's always has that like kind of quirky, funny, comedic timing that I really like, and I think she brought it in this film as well. And there's just many scenes where her awkwardness kind of just made me laugh and smile, and her kind of side storyline with Mr. Bruno, and just her like just the sly comments that just mean nothing unless you are kind of paying attention, but it means everything to her. Like they went to his house. Yeah, I think it was his house where the concert was. Was that at his house, or was that somewhere? I can't remember if it was at his house or not.
I think that was out at a venue.
Maybe at the venue, but
yeah.
Okay, at the venue. And she's like, do you see his wife anywhere? I don't see Mr. Bruno. Does he not have a wife?
She has a crush on the teacher for sure.
Yeah, and then like, it kind of goes away, and then later when they're at the performing, doing the school play or whatnot, she sees him there, and she goes up to him, and he's like, oh, this is my wife, and she's pregnant. And you could just see how destroyed Julie is from finding that out, and you're just
right.
like, oh,
that leads to the Dave
Julie.
Matthews in the field scene where they're both just crying their hearts out listening to Crash. My boyfriend's gay and my teacher is a wife and kid.
And then how misplaced that song is too. It's just a song about BDSM, and it's just not what you should be listening to after you find out your boyfriend was making out with a guy in a bathroom stall. It's not a comforting song, but I mean, it could be if you're listening to it with a lover. But yeah,
let's be completely honest. Not everyone believes that Crash is about BDSM, but
it is.
I was gonna
fine.
I know you guys are doing this, but I was going to lead this right into the next question of what do you think it means that Julie and Lady Bird share this emotional moment listening to Crash together?
It's Crash Into Me, because Crash is
represent?
also
You're already telling me.
Dave Matthews
Crash
band
in-
song.
No, that's
To
Crush.
me.
That's Crush.
Crush,
It's
okay.
different.
Yeah. Well,
right,
yeah,
DMV
that's also hilarious comedic
people.
timing. Right after they see it, it was just fast cut. They're listening to Crash Into Me in the field, which is a song about, lovers too, though. Like, and it's not a breakup
very much
song.
so. 1,000% about lovers. Yes.
Yeah.
Eric,
Well,
can you
lovers
tell
that
us
enjoy
why that
BDSM,
song's about? Why?
I'm not arguing.
Why
I'm
is
just-
it?
But yeah, no, it was again. It goes to the comedic timing of the film, the editing that was also so good. It was edited by Nick Huey. Yeah, he did a fantastic job, and the plot turns in this too are also so good. Like, I don't think I've seen a high school movie where like the girlfriend just randomly finds out her boyfriend's gay by a guy making out in a bathroom stall. Like, it keeps you on your toes the whole time too. It's a comedy, but like it's also a drama in the best ways, and it carries you along through the whole movie.
Yeah, Kevin, with her, she has two romantic interests in this movie, and it's really put in our face because she Sharpies their names on the wall of her bedroom. Thoughts on this Danny relationship? Thoughts on Kyle, played by Timothée Chalamet? For me, when I watched this movie the first time, this was my first ever Timothée Chalamet experience, and I thought his character was interesting as well, but I want you to kind of weigh in on them and also Kyle's thoughts on David Matthews Band. I said David Matthews Band. That tells you how much I listen to them.
The David Matthews Band. Oh my god, I know I've said this already, but these characters are just so real. They're so freaking real. As someone who graduated only a couple years after, so this is set in 2002, so only a couple years after this is when I graduated high school, so there's a lot of similarities to what, I don't know, these characters. I knew people just like these guys. I was, partially like some of, these characters. So there was a lot to relate to and a lot to see. And just this idea that you're going to have different people pass through your life that mean a whole lot. You can go from laying in a field and screaming, "I love you" at this guy, to leaving that person and moving on to someone else who's so obsessed with himself and this idea of reading politics in public so everyone can see him, only to mask the fact that his dad is dying of cancer in the background. Like, this movie was so beautiful because it captured not just our main characters, but everyone else they interacted with. We get Lady Bird on the surface and her mom, right? But what about everybody else? What about our adopted brother? What about that story? What about the dad who's getting passed over because of ageism? What about that? What about the depressed priest? What about, the rich girl who can't help but being conceited because her parents don't treat her any differently? Like, these stories are all around the outside of this, and it's just such a brilliant way of kind of portraying it from start to finish that I even kind of lose track of what your original question was, only because it just seems that these characters just mean a whole lot to the story themselves, and I kind of love that.
Well, yeah, I think this movie does a really good job of none of these characters like really fall into a high school archetype. And I think that most of us, if you think of yourself in high school, it's not like, oh, I was just a band geek, or I was just a lacrosse player, I was a cool kid. Nobody really, I don't think, thinks of themselves in that way. I think we all kind of float in between all of these different things, and I really love the scene. I think it's Jenna is the cool girl that Lady Bird gets closer with and lies about where she lives, and then when shit's found out, Jenna's just like, well, I guess, yeah, we can still be friends, but you really shouldn't lie to me. I don't know why, but that scene, like, really was one of my favorites. It was not what you expect to come from her, and I think that that's part of what makes this movie and that writing a lot more relatable for everyone.
Yeah, it really made her a human, right? It wasn't the stereotypical archetype of the rich popular girl. It was, well, yeah, you are that, but you're also a human being, that real life things happen, and you're just like, yeah, don't lie to me. It's just like not cool. Like, it made her just feel like a more deep character, and I'm glad that Greta went out of her way to kind of put that touch on a character like that, so it wasn't just a stereotype or what you would assume a character to be, which was just really cool.
Yeah, there's no disposable characters.
Right, exactly. There was no throwaway characters. Everything had a point.
Eric, then Cole, or
No,
the other way?
Cole.
You guys fight.
Cool.
I just want to talk about. Can we talk about how just hot Timothy Chalamet was in this movie for just like a hot second? No,
Let's just talk about that for a second.
All right, Cole, give us a hot 60. Go.
Okay,
Yeah.
hot 60. For the longest time, I didn't quite understand why Timothy Chalamet was such the hotness in modern cinema. But after watching this film and seeing the first scene of Lady Bird at the coffee shop talking to him, and the boss say, "Hey, I'm not paying you to flirt," and she's just like, "I'm not flirting," and then Timothy just looks at her and says, "I wish you were," and then goes back to reading his book. I was just like, this is like the coolest guy ever. I absolutely love
Wish you
this guy. And then it turns
What
out
about him
he's
talking
kind of,
about tracking devices?
and he just he just turns out to kind of be a shithead, but typical high school fashion. But I loved his character. I thought he was hilarious, and seeing him in this film and seeing what he how he's become kind of like the Hollywood sweetheart, so to speak. It's just kind of funny to see him as kind of not like a minor part, but also not a major part in this film. And then also the part where, Lady Bird loses her virginity to him, and he just like goes on this like the rant about all the refugees that are dying overseas, the Iraq war and stuff like that. And Lady Bird's like, and not every war is sad, but it doesn't have to be about everything. Like other things can be sad too.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's so good, because that I think we all knew people or know people that are just like, there's always something that's worse and terrible in the world, right? Like, I think we've talked about this on other podcasts, like the whole Coney movement and stuff like that. Like, yeah, child soldiers are terrible, but what do you want me to do about it? I don't know. I don't know how to solve this, but this situation that we're talking about right here, that literally involves you basically lying to me about virginity that we're talking about, and why I can be upset about it, has nothing to do with the Iraq and Iran war, but he just spins it, and quite funny, and again goes back to the writing. And I just loved his character from the moment he swooned me with that just those 3 words, "I wish you were."
See, I've never found Timothy Chalamet hot. I think he just looks like a frogman. I think he's very froggy looking. He just has good hair. But I do think he's a very good actor, and he did play this shithead like high school boyfriend character very well. I definitely like the line, I'm trying to live by bartering alone," and he is living in this gigantic fucking house. He's rich. Yeah, his dad's dying of cancer, but he's totally entitled, and he's like coming off as this ultimate cool guy, cares about social justice issues, but also he thinks the government's like putting microchips in his shit, and like I don't know.
Man.
He was a great written character, and the like shitty high school boyfriend that I think every girl, like a lot of girls, have the story about. Like, I can't believe I dated that guy. He was a fucking weirdo.
I love that she's so outspoken that when what should be kind of, I mean, it is devastating to be like, oh, we have each other's flowers, she says, like, it's the sweet things. And then he's like, maybe 5 or 6 people I've slept with before. And she's like, You don't even know the count. You're in high school.
And he totally lied. He did say earlier that he was a virgin.
He did.
Yeah. What a piece of shit.
Although we did get that great line in that scene where he's like, "You're gonna have a bunch of meaningless sex, and it's not gonna matter." And it's like, yeah, that's probably true, very much, very true. Regardless,
that's why
you're still a
these characters are
shithead,
written so well.
but still, right? Exactly. The writing was just like on point.
Yeah, it was very good. I'm gonna take us on a detour real quick. We're gonna go back to Personal Town. Eric, are you still walking around with the name that your parents gave you?
Yeah, Eric.
What name would you give yourself if you could?
What would I give myself?
And I want the rest of you to think about it.
See, I'm pressured to say like something really cool like Ladybird. and not just like a fucking other name like Doug or something.
You're like,
Doug.
you're like, it's the funniest thing. I'd also be Ladybird.
Yeah, maybe that's my answer. I'd also be Ladybird. Snowbird, because I live in Michigan.
Okay, Snowbird. Guys, you ever think about how you're just walking around with a name your parents gave you?
Oh yeah, that's
Not
a
until
line.
this film, I didn't. No. Didn't give a shit.
We don't believe
Now I
in God,
suddenly
but we
care.
walk around with names that
Now
our
I
parents just made up.
suddenly
Yeah,
care. That scene
It's
was
insane
fucking
to
great.
believe in God.
Like, wait, you don't believe in God? But that's just like, what? Fuck you. Stop being so personal.
I don't even have an answer to my own question. I want to go with something
I don't
like
either.
yeah, like I
I
want to be
do.
like wolf. I want to be like an animal.
I'm going to be called
Cole,
Bob
what is
Euchre.
Yeah, I would go by Flynn because I don't want any actual vowels in my name. I want Flynn.
Yo.
Yeah, that's what I want
I
to go
don't
by.
want any actual vowel.
Also,
Ted Bundy.
Sometimes
cool.
Y doesn't count.
yeah, exactly. I want to break down, the English language and break down those barriers.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, that's a good name. Good to go by
Ridiculous.
Jeff. I will say that scene reminds me of
Jeffy Dahmer.
a book that I read that
Jeffy.
I think it's a very funny book and it's a very strange book. It's called Morty, like Morte, and it's but the E's like kind of parenthesized. So I don't know how to pronounce it if that's correct, but it's written from the perspective of a cat.
Morte.
Yeah, it's written from the perspective of a cat that becomes sentient during a time when giant ants take over the world, and it's quite like a wild book to read. But in the book, the cat like starts off by talking about his slave name, which was what his owners gave him, and then he changed.
my
He
gosh.
changed his name, and he started saying that he goes by Morty or Morte, and that is his name, the name that he gave himself, his given name, so to speak. And when Lady Bird went on that rant, I was just like, that perfect. I love it that you're just like, I refuse to go by the name given to me by my parents. I will give myself a name. I will name myself because I am a sentient human being, no longer controlled by them. And I was just like, you're just like a kitty cat.
The funniest thing then happens when she does make it away from her hometown and sees things in a new perspective after getting some letters from her mom that her mom would have never wanted her to see. She decides to go by Christine again. So, thoughts on the ending? Eric, you've already kind of alluded to what you might think of the ending. Do you want to kind of just unpack it?
Yeah, I guess it's just like it's one of those endings that I understand, and maybe I don't need like more. I just need different. And the end is her calling her mom at home, leaving a message just saying like, "I love you and I care about you," basically. And it's like her just like, I guess, finally realizing where she's coming from on everything. When the whole film maybe she didn't understand, but like it's like almost like kind of excusing your mom for the shitty thing she said. Like like the stuff in the notes, I'm sure it was very loving and caring, and maybe did explain a little bit how much she loved her. What the mom did in the end was she said like all this horrible stuff to try to get her to like stay at home and to try to get her from not leaving. And maybe she had abandonment issues. And I mean, I guess we knew that her mom was an abusive alcoholic, like we said. But it's just, I feel like the ending, like what we learn is that Lady Bird is finally okay with her mother. And I guess going by her original name, maybe she just felt like she outgrew it. Like she's in New York. I don't want to go around telling people I'm Lady Bird. And it was also like telling her mom, like, yeah, this was a beautiful name you gave me. Like I'm trying to start a relationship with you again, even though you haven't talked to me or called me at all. And I think that's super fucked up too. Like she's in a new city. You can't just cut off ties with your daughter. So I don't know. I guess I just like didn't get why it would end like that. I just felt like it dropped me and didn't. I don't need like a warm hug of an ending, but I guess the choice to end it like that confuses me.
Yeah, I think that there's levels of, I think gratitude is a huge theme there at the end, and I think also acceptance of your parents being imperfect people and a level of understanding for why they do certain things, even if they do say really hurtful things to you. Maybe you understand it. Maybe you just accept that that's how they are as a person. And at the end, I mean, Lady Bird gets her happy ending. She got her main goal, and whatever happens with her mom off screen after the fact is after the fact of what we see. But Kevin, you want to kind of weigh in on what you thought of the ending of this movie?
Can I just say, like, I don't think she owes her mom an apology, you know? I don't think that it's the daughter's place to be the first to talk to her and the first to owe her an apology. The mom should be mature enough to know, like, hey, maybe I was a little fucked up here, and I need to say sorry first. I need to be the one to call my daughter. And I think it's like letting her off easy.
Kevin, was she let off easy?
All right, so the ending of this film for me started on high school graduation day, where Lady Bird is at the pizza parlor, and Danny comes by and casually mentions congratulations on the wait list. And Mom finds out that her dirty secret is out there. Dad's been hiding behind, and Lady Bird is trying to run away to the East Coast without her. And what we get from that is apparently an entire summer of essentially a cold shoulder. The most impactful scene for this film for me was the one where Lady Bird is standing in her graduation gown and her mom's doing dishes, and they're in the kitchen. And Lady Bird is just begging her mom to talk to her. And she's just flipping back and forth between blaming her mom and blaming herself and rationalizing it and trying to deflect it. And it's just a roller coaster. It's a tour de force. It's insane. It's the entire movie thrown into one scene. And one character doesn't even flinch, move, or talk. And from there, the roller coaster to the finish is really interesting. Lady Bird, at that point, then goes on her own to not only go to college, but she gets her driver's license, right? She's able to kind of start branching out and being her own person, even without the support of one of the most important people of her entire life. And then, of course, we get the airport scene. God bless, that was powerful. She drops her off, and she's like, I'm going to college. And she's like, yeah, well, your dad can take you. Have a good one. And you can just tell your mom was just like so stoic, like, I'm not giving in. My pride is too big. It's way too important for me. And then she drives, and you just get that one-on-one close-up view of the camera and her face as she's processing the emotions and the thought. And the viewer gets a chance to live inside the brain of Lady Bird's mom as she's kind of realizing that her daughter is about to go fly off to New York, maybe never to get to see ever again. And she doesn't say a word. She doesn't even move that much. You just see in her face, and the way that the cinematography lines up everything and puts you in that position with the panic where you wonder if she's running inside. Is she going to catch Lady Bird? Is she going to get her before she goes inside? And the answer is no. You don't get that. You don't get that resolution. But you get the simple reassurance that she will be back. And I believed it. As someone who left and eventually came home plenty, and, many folks like us, we eventually wanted to leave. We do want to come back. I really believed that Lady Bird would be back to Sacramento and she would see her parents again. So for me, the ending was really well done because it showed a little bit of her journey to, being by herself, going to that party, getting her stomach pumped, going to church, and coming out of church with something so familiar and something so like, this is kind of what made me. And, for your own personal beliefs or not, the church preaches forgiveness, and it preaches the idea that you can be wronged, but you can still come out on the other side and still love the person who wronged you. And I really think that's a major lesson in this movie, and that's why I think the ending for me worked really well, because it did show that forgiveness, and Lady Bird was able to say, hey, Mom, I love you and I forgive you. I know that was long-winded, but I just enjoyed it, and it was just a really good ending for me, and it worked to tie it up and put it in a nice little bow.
Yeah, that shows how much that this movie seemingly affected you. Cole, do you kind of want to weigh in on the ending? Because after this is coming reviews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought this ending was extremely powerful. It definitely plays on kind of something that I think a lot of people deal with, which is that realization that your parents are imperfect, and at a certain point you kind of have to make a kind of a decision. Would you rather love your parents as imperfect as they are, or not have a relationship with them and let those imperfections ruin that relationship, so to speak? Not saying that you're ruining it, but you kind of have to make those compromises and realizations. And do I think the mother was right in any situation? No, I think she did some stuff that's like really terrible. Like, not saying goodbye to your daughter is really, really terrible. And do I think Lady Bird was the one that should have called first? Absolutely not. But I think that showed a lot of growth in Lady Bird herself to be the one that kind of broaches that or starts that conversation or initiates the healing process, so to speak. And does the mother deserve that? That's really up to their relationship and up to them. But I think it showed like a lot of growth in Lady Bird. Like, at a certain point, especially like parents and the older generation, they've been around for 50 some years. They're probably not going to change, and you have to either, I guess, love them or their imperfections and realize that every once in a while they'll probably say something hurtful or say something insensitive or not PC or something that you just have to shake your head and be like, you can't be saying stuff like that, man. You just can't do it. But you still have to make that decision if you want to have that relationship or not. I don't know. It definitely hit home with me, and I thought it was very very poignant and a realistic way to end the film, I think, just from a reality or the slice of life, which I enjoy.
Any very final thoughts before we head into our reviews?
I guess we didn't talk about the dad at all, but I do like the portrayal of like kind of the ultimate cool dad, the one that's really like there for Lady Bird when she like needs him to be, but also probably not stern enough at all. It's like good cop, bad cop, and it makes the mom look like the real bad cop. But him doing all the financial aid forms and everything, like, that's a very good parent. It was the best thing for his daughter to be able to get into a college, any college she wanted to go to that she could get into, and he made it work for her. And that's like great dad. I do think though, like, his depression definitely played into the fact like he almost seemed like a bit absent when ever Lady Bird and the mom were like arguing, and so it does make him look more sympathetic than maybe we should give him sympathy for. But I still think really, really well written character too.
Yeah, he's very passive but supporting type of parent, which, like you said, and like the mother alludes to, like, I always have to be the bad guy. Your dad always gets to be the good guy. But they have a relationship that we're not even privy to because the dad's just like, I love her. And I think it's so sweet.
I want to touch on something a little bit that we haven't talked about, which is the little Easter egg known as Merrily We Roll Along, which was the performance that the kids did in the high school play put on by our depressed priest. Very intentionally put in this by Greta Gerwig. So Merrily We'll Roll Along was a short-lived Broadway piece written by Stephen Sondheim that saw roughly 16 performances before it was cut because it was extensively panned as bad and confusing for theater goers. And it was about three friends, and they were basically showing at the end of their successful life, and the play as it progressed showed them getting younger and becoming more youthful and to the point of where they were getting ready to go and explore the world, much like our character of Lady Bird, and much like our character of our mom, two ends of the spectrum of two different characters. That scene where the priest is distraught as the PTA of parents are filing out, and he just exclaims, "They don't get it." He really didn't, like, he wrote, it was so intentional by Greta putting it in this, because like he really was like, this was a story about, you know, squandering away your life and friends and the traveling of it was just like a perfect moment in that perspective. But we really get that as a major arcing theme of this entire movie, right? With this idea of what life will become from the perspective of Lady Bird versus what life could have been, which is the perspective of her mom backwards. And it's like this dichotomy between the two is just so poignant and beautiful, but it's so simply written that it was just kind of something I didn't really notice right away because I wasn't familiar with it. But the more I did the research, the more I was like, wow, that was really well done. And it wasn't just a throwaway. It was just something so intentional and so well done. So just good for her.
Mm-hmm. I think anytime a movie puts in, if you're ever watching or there's another movie referenced in a movie, it's like turn on your listening ears. Or if there's a play in a movie, or in this case, Lady Bird is in theater, it's like turn on everything, because you know that the director, the writer, everyone involved, they did that for a very intentional purpose, and it almost always mirrors the rest of the themes that are going on in the movie. Cole?
Just a fun fact that about the Merrily We Roll Along, they're making it into a movie, and Bernie Fieldstein who was played in the play in that movie, is also going to be in the movie Merrily We Roll Along, but it's not going to be released until 2040 because
Beanie Feldstein,
yeah,
right?
Beanie Feldstein, yeah. They're but it won't be released till 2040. Yeah, because they're actually filming all of the different scenes in like actual time for each character. So because that play spans so many years, they're filming chunks. So they filmed like the scenes of when they're younger, and as they get older, they're filming them, and it's slated for 2040. And when I first read
it's
that,
like that Ethan Hawke film Boyhood.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
Eric.
Exactly.
That's my first thought too. I was like, that's that Boyhood movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's
another
crazy.
Good coming of age film for sure.
Yeah. So. This is keep your eyes out. 2040, Merrily We Roll Along. We might finally see the spiritual
if
successor
A24 does it,
Lady Bird.
We'll be reviewing it in 20 years if A24 does it.
Yeah, we'll be around.
Steven Sondheim, meet your heart
Trust me, we'll still be doing this shit. I don't care how many listeners we have.
Did you say A2040? Because
A2040.
Oh my god, that's going to be a great year for A24.
True. All right, fellas and listeners and everyone involved in this little project of ours. At this point, we do a final review on all of our individual kind of ratings for the movie, everywhere from A to F with a 24 at the end, E included. I have an idea of how this movie's probably going to go, but we'll see. There's always the possibility for surprise. Do I have a volunteer that wants to give a rating to Lady Bird first?
All right, I'll go. No one else is. Okay, I already talked about my qualms with the ending. I felt she let off her mom a little too easy. And that's like, it's definitely pulling me in the other way now that I hear the other opinions on it. It's kind of like she started the healing process. This movie was about, I think, her relationship with her mother while she's coming of age. And it's an odd, like, example of the daughter or the younger person being the bigger person. And I do kind of like that. I was going to give this film was going to put it in the A category, not A+, but it was between A and A- for me. And like the directing by Greta Gerwig, so well done. The writing, just so like comedic and quippy and smart and original. I love it. It's like an extremely original film and an extremely original take on the coming of age tale. And in an age where, I mean, I feel like you have A24 putting out a lot of original films, but we do lack like more original films nowadays. And this like film is a breath of fresh air in that respect. It definitely was like one of the best films from this year, probably top 3. I really enjoyed it. I think I'll give it an A. I couldn't put it up to A+ because I guess the ending gave me mixed feelings. Straight, just a normal A. It's like still a really, really good film, and I can't put it below that.
Fair enough. Cole, I'm going to make you go next.
Yeah, so as Kevin alluded to...
Flynn.
Yes, Flynn. Hello. As Kevin alluded to, this film checked off a lot of those special itches that I have that just likes to scratch my brain in the perfect spot. It's the 90-minute film, basically. It's a slice of life, very well written, like low stakes, but feels very kind of high stakes from an emotional aspect. Hits me in the feelings, catches that vibe and those feelings just all around. Has like a ton of interesting characters for such a short film and such, again, like low stakes, where you just kind of get interested in these side characters and what's going on in their life, and just all these kind of little tidbits that give you more and more story. Again, like Kelly alluded to, with it being a high school from a woman's perspective, and her kind of coming to age and having that dynamic with her mom. Before the film, Lady Bird, the actress, she did a lot of, I guess, like stage work with a lot of heavy makeup and bright lights, which caused her to break out and have acne. And typically in a lot of the high school films, you have these 20-something-year-olds that are just like always beautiful and pristine. Not to say that she isn't like a beautiful young woman in this film, but they kept in the acne and kept in the imperfections of like coming of age and growing up. And everyone gets a zit every now and then and doesn't look perfect all the time. And if you're seeing a person's life through all these different transitions, they're not gonna look like they had a $100,000 makeup trailer every single morning. So I thought that added to it, and again added to that realism. And I am surprised that I had never seen this film. I had heard so much about it, and I just had never. It's just one of those films. I just never sat down and watched it, and I'm so happy that we did this podcast because I got to watch it, and I now have the Lady Bird experience. And I don't know, like every time I watch something with Greta Gerwig, I just love her more and more. I mean, from Barbie to this to God, what was the one film that we watched that was an
20th Century Woman?
20th Century Woman, like so
she acted
good.
in that, yeah.
Yeah, she acted in that, but everything she does is just I seem to enjoy and seem to love. So
Little
this
Woman,
is an A+.
Also another good one.
Yeah, this is an A+ 24 for me. I absolutely love it. I think everyone should watch it. I think it gives a very unique perspective to a lot of different things that either people know very intimately or need to be experienced to kind of understand how certain people live and how certain dynamics. And it's an easy watch because it's 90 minutes. It's not a 3-hour epic like Oppenheimer, but it's awesome. I loved it, and I can't say enough about it. And I'm definitely keeping it on my radar to watch again when I'm in one of those moods where I want to feel some things and see the slice of life.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna sneak myself in right here. Bullet points. I'm gonna try to go real quick. I like this movie on the themes, the originality, and the relatability that it has. I was looking through YouTube comments of other people who have reviewed this film, and there's so many people in those comments that just say, I've never seen a movie that represents my life so on the nose. And I think that, like Cole said, it's these things that Greta Gerwig is involved in. I keep finding myself just being really like jaw-droppingly like, holy cow. Like, this is someone that I need to... The more she does, the more amazed I am. She has just like her finger on the pulse of culture. And this is a great example of that. It's really relatable. The writing is very authentic. The acting, there's nothing I would change. We've talked about the characters, none of them being something that you could throw away. And all of it's so clean and just like a short, digestible movie. Cinematography-wise, beautiful movie. Greta Gerwig said she wanted it to look like a 2002 like dream, like you're looking through a yearbook. And I think she definitely accomplished that. there's a lot of examples of even really original just cinematography within that. And there's clearly such a respect for the craft of movie making, but still this really original take to it. I think that the soundtrack was really complimentary to everything that was going on, and I like the, as I'm calling him from now on, David Matthew Band in like interplay into it. And this, like, even something as simple as she and her best friend crying over this song, and then she with her like cool friends, and they're like, I effing hate this song. And we've all had that kind of moment where you're just like, these aren't my people. What am I doing here? And just that kind of stuff. And there's so many instances of just this like really funny moment. The highs are high, the lows are low. There's like really not in between in that regard, but there's in between in as far as the nuance of these characters. I think that movies in general is like one of the best art mediums to really like get you in like a sentimental kind of mood. I guess music comes really close to that too, but there's something about movies. And this one made me feel really sentimental about, I graduated high school like 10 years ago now, 12 years ago now, and it just like put me back into those kind of shoes, and it made me sentimental, and it made me really want to go hug my mom. So the fact that this movie did all that is just like, well done. So my review in the end, I don't really know what I would change. I really think that it's just like perfect for what it is. So it is an easy A24 from me. Kevin, finish us out.
Can I say one thing before?
Yes.
I think one of the reasons movies do like hit people so hard in terms of sentimentality is because it's like all the art forms rolled into one package. It's design, writing, music, acting. Like it's all these art forms that came before rolled into one package. And I do feel like that's the reason why movies, for me, hit harder than any other art form. It's like I'm getting everything all at once. So that's why I love them.
Well said. I think you're absolutely 100% correct. And when a good movie is good, it does all of those things well. And they're all interwoven together. And this film does that. We've touched on it briefly, so my review will kind of do the same. But from a cinematography standpoint, it was beautifully shot. It gave us a lot of really well done viewpoints of our main characters, of taking in that aspect that Kelly alluded to, of that dreamscape, of making Sacramento feel something that was in her imagination as much as it was in reality. It really made the colors pop and the characters breathe and come to life, even as something as simple as like the monochrome color palettes of our actors during the school play. Like these things all just brought our film to life. The soundtrack with David Matthews, the church music was actually beautiful. I lost my ever-living sweet mind when they were doing the audition, and Julie goes up there and starts singing the responsorial psalm, the prayer of St. Francis, and like I could just take myself back to sitting there in a pew and like fourth grade at Roman Catholic private school and singing that psalm over and over again, and just like it was just chef's kiss on the way that she integrated all of these small details into her film, and it was just really well done from start to finish. I really wouldn't change anything about it. I would recommend it to everybody who wants to see what a good art film can be about, but still something that transcends that. I mean, we talked about the awards, we talked about the nominations. I mean, it had a small budget and it made multiple times that. It expanded to multiple theaters, all just based on its merit. And it was Greta Gerwig's directorial debut, right? She spent so much time and effort writing this script, hundreds of pages of dialogue, and she condensed it down to her what she released onto paper. And it was just so important for the world to see, and it was just great. I could ramble on and on and on. Go see it. It's really great, and it's one of the jewels in A24's category. So A24 for me. Good job.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone who tuned in to listen to this. We appreciate you coming and hanging out with us and maybe having a drink unless you're driving, in which case don't have an alcoholic one. But that said, if you want to know more about what we're doing, what we're up to, or see Eric's memes that are completely out of pocket, we're on all kinds of socials. So give us a follow there, interact with us. We'd love to talk to you. And I don't know, maybe you could join us for a discussion one day. We'll see what it's like. But thanks again so much for listening. Give us a review if you want to give us one. And we appreciate y'all. With that said, pay attention, because that's a good form of love.
A24.